Alright, continuing with our preset 8 theme, I'm going to give you guys a quick little deck profile on my Bloom Nector deck. So to start us off, working from top to bottom, we have Peach Orden Maiden Elmi, who is running as a 2 of in the Forerunner spot and also in my deck. For those who don't know, she says, Act GB1, put this unit into your soul. If you have a Vanguard with Ranunculus in its card name, choose up to one other grade 2 or grade A unit. Search your deck for a card with the same name as that unit and call it to rear guard. Shuffle your deck, and then at the end of that turn, return the unit that you called with this effect to your hand. Pretty useful skill. It's very nice for triggering Bloom, especially because you can bounce it back to your hand after. I run 2 copies because you want to try and make sure you can use her as much as you possibly can. Moving right along, the triggers, we're running 4 of the special crit for Asha, the one that goes into the soul when your Vanguard attacks and gives 5k and also allows you to draw. And then 4 just regular crits, since Nector doesn't really have anything else. For a total of 8. And something I do a little differently, I run currently 4 draw triggers, since Nector doesn't really have any draw power at the moment. If you want to run the Bloom Stancher, that's perfectly fine, because you can technically get a little draw power off of that. But since Nector is lacking in that field, for right now I find it's better just to run draw triggers until we get the new support. And then, of course, we have 4 heals, because you're running heals in Vanguard no matter what you do. So that's that, pretty straightforward. To start us off with the grade 1s, we have the most important, and honestly the MVP of the deck, 4 of the Pure Maiden Katrina. She says, Bloom, auto, Rearguard GB1. When your other unit named Pure Maiden Katrina is placed on Rearguard, if you have a Vanguard with Ranunculus in its card name, choose up to 5 copies of your Pure Maiden Katrinas on Rearguard, and they all get 4,000 power. This is a real quick way to build up your columns really fast just by calling multiple copies of Katrina. 4,000 doesn't sound like much, but it adds up really, really quick, so you want to make sure you hit her on your Rearguards as much as you possibly can. To back her up, we are running 2 Early Flower Maiden Pia. She's just a 2 of right now. I don't know how much longer she's going to be sticking in the deck since she's kind of an older card and not as good as she used to be, but she says, act once per turn, choose 2 cards, 2 normal cards from your drop zone and put them back into your deck in any order. On top of your deck in any order, excuse me. And then choose one of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Ranunculus in its card name, choose one of your units and up to 4 copies of that unit get 3,000 power. So a nice way to give a little boost to your units, but more importantly, she puts 2 cards back into your deck from your drop zone. So if you get something that's blown up for whatever reason, you can put it back, which is very nice. So that's why we keep 2 of her around. Next, we run 3 of the Stride Fodder for obvious reasons. You can run 4 if you want to, but I personally have 8 grade 3, so I find 3 Stride Fodder is perfectly fine. I don't need to really go any more than that. She's the one for Asha, so she'll let you search for an Asha if you place this one on rear guard and discard a card. And then she counts for striding, so 3 of that. And finally, the obvious 4 PGs. I run the Bloom PG just because it's fun to be able to clone a copy of her, and then once you do, you can bounce as many copies of the ones you have on the field back to your hand. So it's an easy way to get PGs into your hand if you need them. And I find that now, currently with Nector, there's not a whole lot of counterblasts, so you don't need to run any of the damage on flipping PGGs. So this one works perfectly fine. And that's it for the grade 1s. As for grade 2s, we run 4 of the Green Shot Elf, which is another very useful card. This one also has the Bloom ability and auto rearguard, Generation Break 1. When your other Green Shot Elf is placed on rearguard, choose up to 5 copies of your Green Shot Elf on rearguard circle until the end of turn. They get 2,000 power, and more importantly, they gain the ability to boost. So you can call the ones behind each other, and then they can now boost for each other, and they proc for 2k for each one. And that does stack just like with Katrina, so again, nice way to build up numbers. So we run 4 of that. And after her, we run 4 Ideal Maiden Thuria. She doesn't have Bloom, but she basically triggers it. She's a great card to have in the deck. She says, Continuous Rearguard, Generation Break 1. When this unit is placed on rearguard, choose one of your units. If you have Vanguard with Ranunculus in its card name, this unit is regarded as a unit with the same card name as the chosen unit. It has the chosen unit's name when it is placed. So what's important to note about that is it procs as a copy of whatever you're choosing when it's placed on the field, which means it triggers Bloom. So if you're playing this and you have a Katrina or a Green Child Elf already in the field, and you say this is copying Katrina or Green Child Elf, it triggers Bloom because she is entering the field as a copy of that, and that's what makes her so good. And then her second skill is choose a card with the same name as this unit from your drop zone and put it back on top of your deck. At the beginning of your main phase, if you have Vanguard with Ranunculus in its card name, you pay the cost. If you do, return this unit to your hand and shuffle your deck. So this is a great way of A, putting cards back in your deck if they get destroyed, and B, triggering Bloom again because she'll bounce back to your hand and you can just call her again and trigger all your Bloom skills. So she's a very nice card, definitely a 4 of. And then to finish off the grade 2 slot, I'm still running 3 of the Maiden of Flower screen. Again, not sure how much longer she'll be sticking around, but she's still useful because she has Act once per turn, Generation Break 1, choose a normal unit from your drop zone, put it back on your deck, and then you choose one of your other units on the field, and this unit is regarded as a unit with the same name as that unit, and then you shuffle your deck. So again, she's another way of copying units on the field to trigger Bloom. While she doesn't work like Thuria and she can't place on the field as a copy, if you set it up beforehand, you can play her first, copy a copy of Katrina, and then play another Katrina, and she'll get the Bloom effects because she'll technically be a Katrina. So she's a good side card as a backup if you don't have Thura, and a nice 3 of to have. And then for the rest of the main deck, we have the obvious 4 of Ranunculus Flower Maiden Asha. Those of you who don't know what she does by now, she's pretty good. Her GB2 skill says, continuous, all of your units get Vanguard or Rearguard during your turn. If you have a unit in with the same name as a unit on your Vanguard or Rearguard circle, that unit gets 5,000 power. It's a nice way to just build columns if you don't have a way to stride. You can just say, well, can't stride, but all my Rearguards with the copy itself have 5,000 power. So, good option if you can't stride. And then her main skill is Counterblast 1. During your turn when you stride, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your rear guards, search your deck for up to 1 card with the same name as that unit, call it to rear guard, and that unit gets 2,000 power. So obviously a great way to trigger Bloom because you just pick a unit and clone it by searching your deck. So she is a very nice card. Definitely want to make sure you have her for the majority of the game. And then our backup, currently we're running 4 copies of the triple reference at 6. Cornflower, is that flower twice? That is flower twice. Nice. Good job, Bushy Road. Cornflower, Flower Maiden, Ines. And her skill says Bloom, Rearguard, Generation Break 1. When your other Cornflower, Flower Maiden, Ines, it's going to be really annoying to say, is placed on Rearguard, choose up to 5 copies of her on Rearguard, and they all put this unit on the bottom of your deck. At the end of the turn, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, search for 1 card with a Bloom ability among them, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. So if you do find that you have nothing else to play on Rearguard, you can throw her down and then copy her, and then at the end of the turn, you can just put them both back onto your deck and check the top 5 for a new Bloom unit. It's a nice little techie skill to have if you have nothing else. And then the main skill I use her for is Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. When this is placed on Vanguard, and you pay the cost. If you do, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, search for up to 1 card with the Bloom ability, reveal it to your opponent, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck. So what's really nice is, again, you can use this to search for any Bloom units you're going to be needing for your stride turn, and you can also grab PGs with that, which is a very useful skill. Any grade 3 or anything that's like that lets you search your deck for PGs is always something you should consider running, so I run that as a 4 of. And try and ride her as my first grade 3 ride before going into Asha. So that's it for the main deck. As for our grade 4 lineup, first off, we are running 4 of the Flower Princess of Perpetual Summer, Verano. She's a really useful card, especially as a first turn stride. She says, Soul Blast 1, choose a face-down card from your Juzo and turn it face up. Then you choose a card from your hand and your drop zone, return them to your deck. And when this unit is placed on Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose 2 units from your hand, call them to separate rearguard circles, and then you choose the same number of rearguards as the number of face-up units as her from your rearguard circle and clone them. So if it's your first turn stride, you go into her, you put a card from your hand, and drop some, put them back in your deck. Flip up a copy of her, put 2 units down, and you get to clone one of them. So you can throw down 2 Katrinas, they bloom, unflip her, get another copy, bloom that again, and if you have Asha as your Vanguard, you can, since this is one placed on Vanguard skill, you can use Asha's on Stride skill to clone your 4th copy. And you get a really good first turn stride going. So she's really useful for that. I don't find that I often use her more than once after the first turn, but it's nice to have the option if you do want it. After her is the main grouping. I run 3 of the Dream Spinning Ranunculus Asha. Should probably have this at 4 of, but I only have 3 for the moment. Working on that, we'll get back to it later, but I have 3 for right now, and it works just fine. She says, act once per turn, choose a face-down copy of her, turn it face up, and then till the end of the turn, this unit gets act once per turn. Choose one of your rear guards. If you have 2 or more rear guards with the same card name as that unit, if you have 2 or more rear guards with the same card name as that unit, all of your units in the front row get 5,000 power, and then if the number of cards in your G zone is 2 or more, choose up to 1 rear guard, search your deck for one with the same name as that unit, call it to rear guard, and it gets 2,000 power. So she gives the whole front row 5,000 power, and then if you have 2 or more face-up G units, she lets you clone another unit. So very useful, great way of building your columns and getting numbers. But the main reason she's really here now is for the Ranunculus Inglorious Bloom Asha in all of her glory. She is the main finisher of the deck right now. I should, again, just like I should have this at 4 of, I should really have this at 2 of, but I only have 1 for the moment. What she says is, act. Once per turn, Generation Break 2, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. Choose a face-down card from your G-Zone and turn it face up. If you have a hard card with Ranunculus in its card name, choose one of your units, search your deck for up to 1 card with the same name as that unit, call to rearguard circle, shuffle your deck, choose up to 4 of your units with the same card name as that unit, and they get 5,000 power for each face-up copy that you have of Dream Spinning Ranunculus Asha in your G-Zone until the end of turn. If you have a unit with the same name as this unit on your rearguard circle, this unit gets +1 critical. Don't often find that I'm using that. More often than not, I'm really just going for the extra power you get from Dream Spinning. So I'll usually go either first or second stride into her, unflip a copy, then the next turn, stride into that, unflip the 3rd copy, and then 4 units, usually right there, get 15,000 power each for nice big columns that your opponent really usually cannot guard. So a great way to finish off the game there. As for the rest of the deck, we run the one of Faithful Seabreeze that you should be running in any stride deck at this point. If you're running any kind of deck that really relies on using stride or GB skills, make sure that you have a Seabreeze. So that's just a given. As a backup, in case for whatever reason we don't finish them with Glorious Bloom, we do have the 2 of Sacred Tree Dragon, Jingle Flower Dragon, back from GB2, I believe. For those of you who don't know, it says act once per turn, choose a face-down card named Sacred Tree Dragon, and turn it face up. And then, if the number of cards in your G-Zone is 2 or more, choose one of your units. Until the end of the turn, it gets continuous. During your turn, all of your units on the field get 2,000 power for each copy of that unit on the field. It's a weird wording, but basically what it says is, I pick Katrina. Everything on my field gets 2,000 power for each copy of Katrina that's on the field. So if I have 5 copies of Katrina, everything on my field is getting 10,000 power, including the Vanguard, which is nice. So nice little power boost just to finish off the game if that's where you're at. So we keep them around with 2 of. Then finally, as for the normal units, we have our nice little shiny copy of Flower Princess in Spring's beginning Primavera. She really only got good again thanks to Bloom, because before that she didn't really have any way of creating power, but what she says is auto Vanguard, choose Counterblast 3, choose 5 normal units from your drop zone, put them back into your deck, on top of your deck in any order. Choose a card from your hand, discard it. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 2 of your rear guards, search your deck for up to 2 copies of the same card name as each of those units, call in separate rear guards, and shuffle your deck. So this is nice if you want to use this as a finisher or even a first turn strat if you really want, or if you have a counterblast for it. You're going to have 2 copies of Katrina, say, attack with this, you'll get 2 more copies of Katrina, bloom, 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 all over the place, with nice big numbers. It's still shiny, look at that. So that's the last main unit we have, just as a one-of. I don't really use her all that often, but if you do, it's fun to use. And then finally, for the G Guardians, we're running 4 of the Sacred Tree Dragon, Rain Breath Dragon. This unit's pretty useful, especially for Neo Nectar. It says, when you throw away a heal to use your G Guardian, when this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, choose up to 1 card from your hand, call to Rearguard Circle until the end of turn. That unit gets Resist, and if you call the card, this unit gets 5,000 shield. So it's a very easy way for starters to get 20,000 shield, and then on top of that, you get to call a unit that now has Resist, so it can't get blown up, and you're set up to use that unit next turn to start blooming. So it's a great way to set your field up and to know that that card is at least safe for that turn that you use it. So we use 3 of him, and then just 1 copy of Dark Element Dismal. He says when this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, choose 1 of your rear guards, and that unit cannot be hit and cannot be chosen for effects of your opponent's cards. Really nice for this deck because your rear guards are really important, so this helps you protect them from people who want to try and destroy them. It's good to have a one-of to use to try and save your units as much as you can. I don't really like Screw, personally, because he's the same cost as a PG for the not guaranteed prevention of damage, so I'd rather just run those. I think that works out fine. If you want to run Metal, that's perfectly fine and up to you, but that is what I recommend. Other than that, that's pretty much it for my deck. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be coming out with more deck profiles leading up to set 8. Have a good night.